Good morning to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to today's tropical weather outlook for Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. We're going to go over what's happening in the tropics today, which there's not much, but we'll take a look at all the models and see in general how conditions are across the Atlantic and the Pacific today. And one of the ways we typically do so in a video starting off is by taking a look at the National Hurricane Center homepage, and right now nothing is expected there in the next 7 days in the Atlantic Basin, and in the Pacific as well. Nothing is expected in the next 7 days, but beyond the 7-day time frame, I'll dabble into it a little bit, but I do believe the Pacific is probably going to get pretty active by the time we get to the end of the month, and I'm only going to go over it a little bit in today's video, but I'm probably going to go much more in depth tomorrow and as we progress throughout the week and we get closer to the end of the month. But conditions are starting to really look like they could become very favorable for the Eastern Pacific, and we will probably begin to see the first fruits of what will be a very, very active hurricane season ahead for them this year, as again we have El Nino building in the basin, and conditions in general just look very, very ripe for lots of Eastern Pacific activity this year. But of course, I will go over that and talk about that more later on. Here's a satellite image, though, of the Atlantic right now, and as you can see, as per usual, nothing is happening right now. We have a lot of dry air in the basin, and you can especially see that by all of these low-level clouds that are kind of scattered out throughout the tropical Atlantic. The environment is very dry out there, and there's also a lot of wind shear. Things that are all typical of this time of year in the Atlantic Basin. Again, it is only mid-May, and also this year, environmentally, things should not be really that great for tropical development in the Atlantic, as we are going to have a very strong El Nino. But there is a little bit of an interesting feature here off the southeast coast, just south of Bermuda and to the northeast of the Bahamas. In fact, let's zoom in on it a little bit. And yeah, there's a nice little feature, and I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, but I guess it could warrant a little bit more time discussing today, not because it really has a chance of tropical development. It probably doesn't. Doesn't really have a lot of time, and wind shear is kind of high over it. But, there are some pretty nice, interesting looking clouds here, showers and thunderstorms to the northeast of the Bahamas. And I do believe this is a reminder and kind of a little bit of a quick opportunity to talk about how generally in this region off the southeast coast here and in the western Atlantic, this tends to be an area that we need to watch for this time of year for development. Because I do believe that this small little low pressure here did actually originate from a front that came off the east coast a few days ago, and I guess a low pressure broke off from the tail end of the front, and now we have this interesting looking system here in the Bahamas. And once again, it's not going to develop. Maybe the National Hurricane Center might give it a X mark, although probably the 0% chance gray X mark that they introduced this year, if you're aware of that. And it's possible that they might do it later this afternoon. But again, not really expecting any actual development out of this system. It's just going to be nothing more than a bunch of rain showers and thunderstorms as this kind of progresses towards the Carolinas coastline over the next several days. And, rain showers and thunderstorms, that's not nothing, obviously. It's still a nuisance to us because all of these weather systems are bigger than we are. We're quite literally just a little speck on the map. And these thunderstorms last for, still like several miles or so in length. But again, beyond that, this is not going to be anything. But it does look a little interesting. It does have a little spin. And you could actually kind of see that reflected a little bit in the 850 millibar vorticity. And I guess this is honestly kind of a good way to showcase the purpose of looking at the vorticity map a little bit. And you can see here, once again, just to the northeast of the Bahamas, more like to the east of the northern portion of the Bahamas. There's a little bit of vorticity with this, although not particularly strong, but it's still nice and kind of neat to see. You can see that there's a little bit of turning if you look at the satellite, and from that, you can kind of see that that correlates to vorticity that is present just east of the Bahamas. So it is a little bit cool and definitely something that we will be using, and information to keep in mind in terms of how to look at this map as we go into the hurricane season. But probably one reason why that this storm is not really going to do much is because sea surface temperatures, especially just to the east of the Bahamas, generally only marginally warm enough. And I mean, it does get a little bit warmer as this gets towards the Gulf Stream, but sea surface temperatures are still not as warm as they should be for tropical development in this region. But believe me, and I mentioned this before, especially around here off the southeast coast and in the Gulf as well, and you're already starting to see things really pick up in terms of warmth in the Gulf, almost the entire Gulf now, with sea surface temperatures at or above 26 degrees Celsius, which we need for tropical development. But in general, this part of the basin is going to warm up quite a bit, especially over the next several weeks. And definitely, if we do have, if in the event that we do end up having any other small system like this here in the next several weeks, when sea surface temperatures should be warmer, I would not be surprised if we have some sort of development that occurs in this area later on in the season. But obviously, once again, right now, not expecting any development in the Atlantic. But sea surface temperatures in generally are warm. In the Eastern Pacific, though, they're even warmer. And I mean, we've talked about this before, but the Pacific in general is piping hot, and that is obviously to be expected as we have El Nino brewing out there this year. But we have sea surface temperatures, especially just south of Mexico, as warm as 30 to even 31 degrees Celsius in some spots. And I even saw a map that had sea surface temperatures as high as 32 degrees Celsius in portions of the Eastern Pacific. So a very, very warm basin right now, indeed, and in general throughout large swaths of the tropical Pacific. We have sea surface temperatures at or above, and in many cases well above 26 degrees Celsius. So the Eastern Pacific is definitely warm enough for development right now. And taking a look at a satellite image of the Pacific, luckily though, nothing is going to happen right now, and there's nothing really to track right now. But as I'll show you in a little bit with the models, I think that is going to change, especially beyond the 1 week time frame. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. But first, let's take a look at the GFS and see what is happening over the next week in the Atlantic. First of all, you can see the reflection on the vorticity forecast here of that small little low just north of the Bahamas. And you can see there's a little bit of a vorticity signature. Maybe some sort of surface low does try to form and close off a little bit here, but it is very small and not very significant. And this is just going to head north and probably into the Carolinas over the next several days, but nothing too significant, of course, so no need to worry about it. But then beyond then, as we head out to 168 hours out, nothing really happens in the Atlantic basin, and nothing in the Pacific as well, although you could see that we do have quite a bit of vorticity here that begins to build over Central America as things become more favorable. Now I'm going to flip this to the Eastern Pacific. Once again, just taking a look at things over the next 7 days. Nothing really happens, but then when you go beyond 7 days, just kind of going to hint at things a little bit, especially as you get into the 10-day time frame. You do notice that something does begin to spin up here on the GFS. And I know this is beyond 7 days out, but I really am trying to kind of hit the point home that I think, especially as we get to about the very end of this month and into the early portion of the next month, I do think especially the Pacific Basin will really start to become active, and we probably will see quite a bit of storms form here, and especially judging by the sea surface temperatures that we have in the Eastern Pacific, I would not be shocked if we have a strong storm to form here in the Eastern Pacific right off the gate as we begin hurricane season, as we truly begin hurricane season there. And once again, what is one of my reasons why? Well, take a look at the velocity potential, and I showed this map several days ago, but I'll show it to you again. And in general, especially as we head towards the next several weeks, and especially as we get towards the early part of June, you start to notice that we have much more of this green begin to show up in the Western Hemisphere, and right over the Eastern Pacific especially. This is the European 360 hours out on June 3rd, but again, it's early June. We have rising motion that really begins to set up in the Eastern Pacific, meaning more favorable atmospheric conditions for tropical development. And it happens again in the time frame that I've been saying for the last several days, late May, early June. I think that'll really be the time frame to watch for something to form, especially in the Eastern Pacific. But maybe we might have something in the Atlantic as well around that time. We'll have to see, but obviously we will continue to keep tabs on things for now. With that being said, though, I'm going to end it off for today's tropical weather outlook. Hope you enjoyed what you saw today. If you did, I would really appreciate if you like this video, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to my channel, especially if you want more videos like this every day, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be doing these daily tropical weather updates, and if you're interested in that, please make sure to once again subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I'm going to end it off. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day today. Peace, love, and kindness to you all, and I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.